Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Ron Hasn't Seen. Today we're continuing our string of movies from the Great Movie Ride, and we are going to rock Amadeus. And I promise it's the last time I'm going to use that pun. Amadeus did not appear in the Great Movie Ride as a scene, it just appeared in the final montage with the very memorable scene, which we'll also be showing over what I'm saying now. Amadeus is a 1984 film directed by Milos Forman. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Man in the Moon with Jim Carrey. He's done a lot of great work. The screenplay was by Peter Shaffer, who adapted his own 1978 play of the same name. And along with Best Picture, the film also received Oscars for Forman and Shaffer for their roles, as well as F. Murray Abraham, who played Antonio Salieri. It also won Best Art Direction for Patricia von Brandenstein and Carl Kearney. Costume design for Theodore Pistek. Makeup for Dick Smith and Paul LeBlanc. And Best Sound for Mark Berger. Tony Scott, Todd Bokelheide, and Christopher Newman. Tom Hulce also received a Best Actor nomination for his performance as Mozart, and the film also received nominations for editing and cinematography. Other notable members of the cast include Elizabeth Berridge as Constance Mozart, Jeffrey Jones as Emperor Joseph II, and while it was a smaller role, Cynthia Nixon as the maid Laurel. I'd like to note that I watched the director's cut of the film, which is about 20 minutes longer than the theatrical version, which I believe came out in 2002 on a DVD. It was actually overseen by Forman. It kind of wanted to expand beyond the original PG cut. So there are some things I'm going to talk about here that may not be in the original film. I don't know. The film opens with an older Salieri locking himself in his bedroom or study and trying to commit suicide when his servants find him. They, save him. But he gets committed to a mental institute after he claimed he killed Mozart. The main line of the film is through his confession to a priest. And it goes in and out of that narration as we see him talking to the priest giving his confession. Salieri tells how he made a deal with God to be pure and chaste if God would make him this great composer. And he does. He becomes, famous. He becomes the official court composer to the Emperor, Joseph II. And he does start off as a great admirer of Mozart. But he turns against him after he found Mozart's kind of a childish, kind of crass figure. And he feels, why would God give this man such great ability and me mediocre ability? And then he just decides to turn his back on God and try and destroy Mozart, which he does by trying to ruin his professional life, even some of his personal life. He agrees to help Mozart if Constance will sleep with him, but he just then changes his mind and sends her away. He's not the good guy, even if he is kind of our protagonist. He is definitely not the good guy of the film. And finally, he tries to commission Mozart anonymously to commission a requiem that once he plans to kill Mozart, he's going to release as his own work. But Mozart dies before it's unfinished and is eventually buried in a pauper's grave. But, the film acknowledges that Mozart became immortal and Salieri became more of a footnote. Let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room here. And this is kind of thanks to The Simpsons, who did a full parody of the movie where Lisa points out the supposed inaccuracies that Salieri was known as a great composer and Mozart worked really hard. And so I was expecting to not like that in this movie. I think the whole idea of it being historically inaccurate was going to be a cloud over it. But the fact that it's told through Salieri's eyes means the historical inaccuracies can just go out the window because this is Salieri's point of view of things. It doesn't claim to be historically accurate. It claims to be the ramblings of a man in a mental institute who's having some sort of breakdown over some sort of guilt. It really is a fascinating story, and I really think it is one of the best films I've ever seen. It's not going to be one of my favorites, but to put simply, It is gripping, well told, amazingly acted, and just simply visually stunning from beginning to end. The version I saw was 3 hours long, and I don't think I even looked at my watch or my phone the whole time. It was captivating straight through and through. And the film does present Mozart crassly, which was true. He was kind of known for making like fart jokes and things like that. And there's a lot of the comedy in a very serious, otherwise serious film in Mozart's behavior. But it doesn't do anything to subtract from his genius in it. He's just shown laboring over his work. It comes to him in his head, but he strives to write it down. He wants to be this great musician. But, showing someone sitting at a table writing notes is not as memorable as them basically at a, drunken at a party playing the Georgian era equivalent of Truth or Dare. And I feel it's a weak review to say this movie is near perfect, but I think that's the case. Other than the Simpsons reference, which was very extensive, it was part of one of their not quite Treehouse of Horror trilogy stories that they've done in the past. Other references I can think of is a couple of times in How I Met Your Mother, the character of Marshall kind of parallels some of Salieri's talking about Mozart's music being these perfect little notes of this and that, while he's discussing food. And it's funny and it's played for laughs there. And it's a reference I kind of got watching the show before I even saw this, because I knew what the movie was about. And this is one I avoided just because for a while I didn't think a movie about Mozart was going to be that entertaining. I appreciate classical music, but it's not something I go out of my way all the time. This one doesn't really seem to have any real fun stories or anecdotes that I saw. The film was fairly successful. It made $90 million worldwide on an $18 million budget. It was mostly shot in Prague and other parts of, I think, the Czech Republic. I don't remember how to pronounce at the time, right now. Apparently, at one time, both Mark Hamill and Kenneth Branagh were in contention for the role of Mozart. Mark Hamill did play him on stage at one point. And Meg Tilly was actually cast as Constance, but she was hurt and couldn't finish the film. So yeah, the film is one of the most perfect films I've ever seen. It really is captivatingly beautiful, just straight through and through. The story, even though you know what's going on, it's being told by a man who's still alive about a man who's dead. You want to know how it got there. And the intrigue between things, everything is just so well done and believable. It's a good movie. Just watch it. You don't have to watch the director's cut. I can understand a 2 hour and 40-minute movie being stretched into 3 hours is not everyone's cup of tea. It is long, but you don't realize it. It just takes up that amount of time. That's my review of Amadeus. Next week, we going to have a special guest on, Rob, from WDWNT's Deep in the Plus. We did a collaboration, couple episodes on The Sound of Music, which was back part of my Best Picture winners, but it also appeared in the montage in The Great Movie Ride, so it fits here as well. Kind of like this is also Best Picture winner in the montage of The Great Movie Ride. We'll be discussing that next week. If you guys like what I'm doing here, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let me know if there's anything like you want to discuss about these movies that I might have missed. And thanks for watching and have a good night.